Welcome to the free webinar on bathing. As you might be knowing, we are regularly conducting webinars for parents of children with special needs, and every week we choose a topic and help parents to understand it better. So this week our topic is bathing. I'm Karthik Rao, developmental physiotherapist from Srishti Therapy Center, Chennai. So over the past few weeks, we have been able to cover these many topics on self-care or ADL. ADL stands for Activities of Daily Living for Children. So today we are going to discuss about bathing. To start with, bathing is a very important skill for independent living. It is also related to dignity of the individual. A person who is not able to bathe by himself then becomes dependent on others and he loses his dignity. It is also related to health and hygiene because it is all related to cleanliness, and bathing is a very important skill to be acceptable in the society so that you are clean and you are approachable by everybody. It improves the child's self-esteem. The moment the child is able to do it on his own, the child feels good about himself, and it also gives the caregiver time to do other things. The prerequisites for independent bathing are gross and fine motor skills, motor planning. Motor planning is essentially your blueprint on how to do a particular movement, understanding parts of the body, so that when you use some terminologies, you say like rub your hands or there is a soap on your leg, the child should be able to identify, look down and clean it up. So understanding parts of the body is very important, and then able to follow two-step commands. Two-step commands means do two things like hold the soap and then brush, okay, or apply soap and then rub. So doing two things at the same time. Before we proceed further into bathing, we always need to have a privacy alert. What does it mean? Even before getting into the restroom or the bathroom for taking bath, the child should always be behind closed doors. The child should not be nude or naked when going to the restroom or coming out of the restroom, and only the parents should be helping the child to dress and undress. And all dressing and undressing should be behind closed doors. There are probably four facets of learning how to do bathing. The first is what to do, which the child will be able to learn through routines. The next question would be when to do. Okay, then this could be addressed through visual schedules. The third thing is how to do. This can be taught to the child by step-by-step guidance. And why should I bathe? Okay, if that is the child's question, then that can be addressed through social stories. So if I look at the task analysis, then I can grossly categorize them into three types: gross motor, fine motor and sensory. So I'm not going to read out all of this, but just for your understanding, because this is a video, you can always pause it and go through the content. I'm also giving you a reference in the link down there, which I will also post it under the video in the comment in the description of the video. So gross motor will involve all your standing, balance and shoulder level activities. For example, get a towel, getting undressed. Okay, so those kind of activities will be your gross motor. When I talk about fine motor, like even within getting undressed, it could be like unbuttoning or removing a fastener. So that would be your fine motor skill. And then when it comes to sensory, then checking the temperature of water, or tolerance towards the sound of running water. So all this thing, or the smell of shampoo and soap, being able to tolerate that. So all these things would be your sensory part. The critical part with respect to bathing would be cleaning unseen parts of the body, because as long as child is able to see a particular part of the body, it may become easier. But teaching a child to clean the parts of the body which is not able to see, for example, back or behind the thighs, so it becomes much more challenging. For which we have to make the child understand that there is a back portion involved, and the child has to clean it up. And you can also use stickers and bindi and other activities which will help the child to take the hands to that particular part of the body. You can also use a mirror, but when we actually want the child to look at a mirror, and especially at the back, we need two sets of mirrors facing each other, like you will see in a hair salon, yeah, where or the hairdressers, where they will have two sets of mirrors on the opposite walls, so that you're able to see both the front as well as the back portion of your hairstyle. So similar to that is required, and if that is not practically possible in the house, then the best thing that you can do is encourage the child to feel the parts of the body with his hands. The next critical path would be closing eyes. The key to this is the child should know what is expected when I close my eyes, and for that clarity, we would always ask the child to do a particular activity with eyes open first. Only when the child is able to do that with eyes open, immediately you will ask the child to do that with eyes closed. Okay, so now the child understands what are the demands of the task, and you are also sure that the child is able to do that, and then it becomes easy for the child to do it with eyes closed. I have some suggestions for activities with eyes closed. You can always look at it at levels, and so level 1 would be a familiar activity in sitting. So when I want the child to close his eyes, then I don't want the child to be really scared about falling down. Okay, so it means if I do it in sitting on the floor or on a chair, the child is more secure and is more comfortable. And I will start with a familiar activity which is able to do with eyes open. Okay, so that would be my level 1 familiar activity. And I may start with just stacking two cups, one inside the other. Not stacking, not like putting one on top of the other, but one inside the other, because that gives a much better feedback. Level 2 is exploring activity, because first one is just putting one inside the other is easy. Number 2 is I want the child to actually not know where the object is, and the child should be able to use their hands to explore or find the entire span of the table, and identify an object. Okay, or not identifying, it's like identify the presence of an object. Okay, so that means the child should be able to just put the hands around and just move it side to side and front and back and pick up an object. Okay, so which means you're going to just place the object only after the child has closed the eyes. Again, you can make it easy for the child. You can do one level with eyes open, and you will show the child this is where I'm going to place it, and then close the eyes and ask the child to do it. And then again, the next would be you will ask the child to close the eyes first and then place it. So now always remember that when you get into level 2 where you want the child to explore, there should always be a physical boundary. Okay, you cannot do this on the floor. You should be doing it on a table or on a doormat or say anything which has a different texture, and there is a clear boundary. It should be within that boundary. Level 3 is same as level 2, but I would prefer the child to do it in standing. So it could be on the kitchen sink, it could be on the windows, somewhere where the child can stand and do some exploratory activity. Level 4 would be exploring on a table or a mat. I would prefer a larger area because I also want the child to move in with eyes closed. So that is what I would want the child to do. And level 5 would be explore the room along walls or furnitures and go and pick up objects, all with eyes closed. Okay, so this is how I would take the child from one level to another. Some tips which will help you with bathing would be teach the child how to bolt and unbolt the latch. So it is very important skill for the child to learn about privacy. Initially you can be inside, you can do hand over hand, and then you can latch it, and I encourage the child to open it, and then gradually the child starts doing it on his own. Teach child where to keep the clothes. Okay, and many times what we find is the cloth hanger or the towel rod is usually way up the high, so it has to be at a level where the child can reach it. You can always teach the child to check water temperature using elbow, not using hands. We don't want the child to get the hands burnt, and it may also not be reliable because your palm is a lot more thicker in terms of skin texture, thickness of the skin. An elbow would be a much more better zone to give you a feedback about whether this particular temperature of water is appropriate for you or not. Mark areas in the body with sketch pens and encourage the child to rub it off. So if you feel that the child is not able to apply enough pressure while applying the soap or not even doing enough of scrubbing, then you can use sketch pens or markers, and you can have those like black colors or red colors, and then encourage the child to clean it by scrubbing, so that now the child has a visual feedback. Or after use, you can also teach the child how to dry the towel, how to spread the towel. We do not want the child to just drop a wet towel just like that, or even if it is like putting it on a towel rod, it cannot be just like that. It has to be spread out. If you make the child to take bath in open space, which may happen in rural areas, or in places where the young child is too young, let's say 2 or 3, then what you can do is always encourage the child or put the child with a uh, undergarment. The child should always have undergarments on while taking bath. No one other than the parents should dress or undress the child, not even grandparents, not even uncle and aunts, because we are looking at a vulnerable population, and are not really sure. A lot of things can go wrong with sexual exploitation of children with special needs, especially when it comes to most of the time it is the close relatives who do that. So we would not like to take those chances with our kids. So it's always important that only the parents should dress and undress the child, not even siblings. And and if the child has difficulty using a soap, I always encourage the child to take the soap on the palm and make a rich lather out of it, and then replace the soap, and then apply the soap on the body directly. I mean from the hands directly into the body without the soap in the hand. This will make sure that the child does not have to drop it. You can also encourage the child to take the soap on the palm, okay, make a rich lather, and then replace the soap back into the soap box, and then apply it on the body. So this will minimize the chances of the soap falling down. For some children, we also encourage the use of the socks if they are trying to hold on to the soap, and then they're not able to hold it correctly. Then sometimes you might use a socks, because that will give them the kind of friction which is required for holding the soap, and that can also be tried. If you have any comments and queries, please put it in the if you have any comments and queries, please put it below this video. I will reply to each one of them, and please restrict your queries to this particular topic. And if you have any other questions, we always have a session every first and third Wednesday on the regular Q&A session. The next free webinar on next Friday, it will be on self-care, which is on hygiene, okay, personal care and hygiene. So which will be on August 21 and from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. Please provide your feedback using the link given below, and these are the contact details. And feel free to subscribe, like, and share. Thank you very much.